This episode of Just Start is powered by Alloy Collectors. Football fans, it's time to level up your merch. Alloy Collectors transforms football jerseys into premium metal collectibles, because true fans deserve more than just another scarf or mug. Get 50% off with code JUSTSTART and grab a limited edition Just Start X Alloys tee. Plus, score a chance to attend a private exclusive event with some of the biggest names in UK football.
A man I've known for over 30 years, Dan, the big man, Gainsford. We've known each other since school, and our paths have realigned and doing similar things, but in very different ways, both trying to impact the world in different ways. Dan has an unbelievable project that he's been working on for a while, an unbelievable business called The Way of The Viking, which the name itself is inspiring. Welcome, Dan. Congratulations. The bottle of champagne's in the post. Well, welcome to the first guest of the Just Start podcast.
Oh, I feel very honoured. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, mate. It couldn't have been anyone else except you. So, through this chat, we're going to go through various different topics, and I think there'll be very little structure to this. But I think the first starting point is, tell us a bit about your. I know your background because I was with you with it, but maybe we limit some of the stories that we tell on this. But yeah, tell us a bit about your start. Tell us about your schooling, your upbringing, your background, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Sussex, but in Steyning, alongside, well, not in Steyning, but we went to Steyning School, Steyning Grammar School, State School. Went through there, usual sort of path. GCSEs, I kind of always did okay academically for some reason.
Mate, you did unbelievably well. You were all A's and A stars, weren't you? Did you do GCSE days? Brilliant.
I was. I don't know. I think it must have been a bit jammy, but yeah, somehow I used a bit of hyper focus and managed to.
I can guarantee you it was a lot of hard work for you, but at the last minute.
Absolutely. That's how we roll. So, got through that and went to university, went to Loughborough. Was kind of various things I was looking at, history, and I love history and things like that. So I was also looking at other places to go and do history, but went and visited Loughborough, and that was kind of my backup thing, and ended up doing sports science and social science at Loughborough, because I went there and I loved it. Basically, the campus, loved the environment there, loved everything about it, and that was that. And my dad always told me growing up, said always pick things that you enjoy doing, which was great, except for times when I've been absolutely skinny.
Yeah, just that.
Terrible advice. Tell me to go and find something that makes money. But I've always tried to choose things that I enjoy, and I loved it. So for me, I was very lucky. Went to university, studied sports science, social science. Always tended to go towards psychology and sociology. I love understanding the mind and how people work socially, how people integrate and work together and interact. So always found that fascinating, whether it is from a sports side of things or just in a general society type of thing. After that was all set to do. I thought I was going to be in academia forever, to be honest. I thought I'd be sitting here now as a nice 40-odd-year-old, still in university, doing whatever. Doctorate, masters, was all set to do a masters at the time. Was all set to do my masters in sports psychology, and was applying to do a doctorate into socialisation of young athletes into elite sport. And then I had kind of a major sort of change of direction, and decided actually the most important thing to me at this point is I want to go and see the world. So I ended up going travelling for a couple of years, backpacking around. After that, I came back, and I was like, kept thinking I'll go back to university at some point, go and do those other bits, but as generally happens, you sort of think, actually, maybe I better get cracking with something now. So I ended up doing another diploma, another qualification into personal training and sports massage therapy and things like that, and so carried on from there, basically.
You travelled for ages, right? Where did you go?
Yeah, sort of did the first one, went all kind of the usual round the world routes, Asia and Australia and parts of America and Canada, and then went back again and went to kind of Central and South America and travelled all around there.
So I remember meeting you in the beach nightclub, and you telling me the story of when you got threatened by a gun in Brazil. How'd that happen?
Yeah, that's pretty well. A couple of times actually, within about a 2-week period, I got shot at twice and held up by the police.
So you've got to tell us a story about that. How does that work? Obviously, your kids aren't going to hear this podcast, so you don't have to worry about
that. So the police one was we were just in a bar and having a few drinks as you do. Went to get a taxi round the corner because we didn't know where the next bar was that everyone was going to, basically. Got in a taxi, and the taxi ended up taking us for ages. And I was with a couple of mates I'd met out there from Manchester, and we were driving, and suddenly we were chatting away, laughing, and saying, we've been driving for half an hour here, what's going on? And so we started speaking to the taxi driver and realised there's a bit of a thing in certain areas in South America where they take you out to certain areas and hold you up and etc. So we were, at this point, realised what was going on, trying to stop him. As we went through this tunnel, the police lights suddenly pulled up behind us, and we thought, oh good, the police have realised what's going on. They've come to save these gringos from a bit of a beating or whatever. Get there, and then the police pulled guns on us and took us, put us up against the bonnet, put a gun to our chest, got us out there. They were asking for our passports, trying to take our money and passports from there, which is a
Yeah, so why
bit
did they
different
pull
in
you
these
over
countries, how things work. So they pulled us. I think it's all a
With the
scam
police?
that they were
Right.
working together with the taxi driver. So it's all part of the whole thing. So fortunately, in those days, I had a couple of drinks and I was a bit braver than I probably would have been if I hadn't. And I kind of managed to just see it through. Didn't actually get that worried about it, and we went back out. And the taxi driver ended up taking us back to where we were going originally, and we ended up getting into a nightclub and carried on from there
There you
without
go.
paying him.
Important
So,
bit. Man, it's crazy, isn't it? I was in Brazil last year, and the taxi drivers are mad out there. We didn't have the same experience as you, but they were driving like at about 11 o'clock at night with no lights on. No cars are driving lights on.
yeah,
I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah,
want
and
to
very
run
little
through red
respect
lights.
for, in the UK, we're very respectful about staying in our lane on the motorways and indicating when we change lane. There's no
Yeah,
that. It's just you had to kind of hope you can guess in time before they swing out in front of you. But man, yeah, they pull it
absolutely.
out. I'm fortunate, touch wood,
Yeah,
I've never had a
fun.
gun pulled out on me. So fair play to getting through that. So you did your PT
Yeah.
diploma, then kind of where'd you go from there?
Yeah, so then I went to
Yeah,
David
yeah, of
Lloyd,
course.
might have to say corporate companies and things. Yeah. Went to David Lloyd, worked there for a year. It's kind of a great place to start, but I always knew I was not destined to work for someone else. Really, I always wanted to be my own boss and work for myself. Within a year, I kind of knew I wanted to go on my own. Met one of the other trainers there, and we ended up going and setting up our own studio in Worthing. So I had a studio there for about 3 years. Wasn't the greatest time. It was
Yeah,
right at the start of the recession. It was hard graft. It's kind of one of those things where you didn't have social media then. You didn't have any way of, the only way to kind of advertise was networking events and going to literally dropping leaflets, walking all over the place, dropping leaflets through people's doors, and word of mouth was
yeah,
generally the main form of getting business in, etc., getting people in. But as a result of that, I tended to be quite busy in the morning and busy in the evening. But I was always trying to find something in the daytime. So I ended up jumping into other opportunities that I saw with the NHS, and I've started trained to do cardiac rehabilitation, and I went to the mental health hospital and worked there, ran sessions there, and also stroke rehabilitation, went to nursing homes, things like that. Did some stroke rehabilitation work and things in there as well, and it was great. It kind of all went well. The studio, we lasted about 3 years and then realised that wasn't really what it was tough. It was hard work, and I had someone else, a friend of mine was opening a new gym somewhere else, so I ended up going there, which was absolutely perfect, a small gym in Shoreham. So I was doing my PT there, doing in the daytime lots of stuff out in the community, and that was kind of how I rolled for about 12 years. A couple of little dips into other areas, tried a franchise for a little spell with another client, had all different areas that I tried, little different things, little variations of different programs, etc. But actually that was pretty much how I rolled. I was pretty much in that path for
hmm
about 12
Okay.
years or so.
So then it all led to the moment of the Way of the Viking, which is a movement I see it on social media. It looks fantastic. And I recognise some of the faces in there as well. So tell us about the Way of the Viking, how that kind of came about.
Yeah, so obviously a few years ago something happened where the world shut down. We all kind of went into COVID, etc. Prior to that, I was already looking at ways to start going online, starting to look at different ways of being online personal training. I'd done various trainings, paid quite a lot of money for different coaching qualifications and things to start doing that, but never actually did anything with it, never got anywhere with it at all. But during the early part of COVID, a great mutual friend of ours, we sadly lost, as a result of his mental health. So he died by suicide, and it
Yeah.
rocked all of us, I think, to the core, massively. I know he wasn't your first
Yeah.
friend you lost in that way, and it was other people we knew from school and things like that, and it was around everything else that was going on as well. It really kind of changed everything and changed
Yeah.
how I felt about lots of things. So part of other loss around my family life, I lost lots of family members, culminated in my
Yeah.
mum dying as well. I kind of had a spell. I thought it kind of gave me a lease of what this podcast is about. Just you got to go and do it. You only get kind of one life. You've got to go and try these things and try see what happens. So I ended up spending quite a good amount of money to do some new qualifications, learn all different parts. Did NLP qualifications, did coaching qualifications, life coaching, behaviour change coaching, loads of different things that I was kind of embroiled in, just worked endlessly. I mean, it was my life for absolutely endlessly through that early part of COVID and everything else. And then started setting up various different programs and things on the back of that, one-to-one programs, all various sides of that. As part of that, what happened was as I was coaching people, I recognised that I was speaking to different men that I was coaching, or men that were just reaching out. We're just having chats, various chats, and doing some gentle coaching, and realised that there was just something massively missing. It was kind of all these things that I'd learned, all the benefits of exercise, nature, psychology, everything else, in part of having purpose, being part of something, having brotherhood, having other people to join you. It just felt like a lot of people were at this midlife period where they'd stopped playing sport or they'd stopped doing it, and they just lost a lot of their sense of purpose. So on the back of one particular conversation with someone I used to play football with, I was just like, this person needs this, and these other guys that I've been speaking to need this. So Way of the Viking, it wasn't a business. There was no business plan around it. There was nothing to do with any development as a business. It was a case of, it was a purpose-driven decision, basically. I felt something needs to be done, something needs to be set up to try and create some change in our culture, and this is what I'm going to try and do. So I just started it. We had about 4 or 5 guys to begin with who heard what I was doing. I advertised it, got involved, and it started very, very low-key. We were just gymming, swimming, having campfire chats, as we call them, talks on Zoom, where we're doing some coaching and just giving everyone an opportunity to share and going out on hikes and talking, and it just worked really well, really, really well. Saw great benefits with people, and it just kind of grew from there. More and more people saw what it was about. More men were ready to jump out of their comfort zone, start doing something a bit different, and that's kind of how it's evolved, really. And it's just gone
Yeah,
on
and
and on.
obviously I know some of the people that are in the Way of the Viking. Which how long has it been going now?
It's just coming up
And
to
how
2
many people
years.
have you got involved?
Coming up to 2 years now. Yeah, about 30 people at the moment. We've just launched a female program as well,
Nice.
different, which is a slightly different avenue, but in the same sort of business. But yeah, the Vikings is solely based on men and men's mental fitness.
All the men are a similar age, and I guess the women are as well. I was just thinking, as you were saying there, do you think it's maybe something to do with a lot of the boys that are in the Way of the Viking are not ex-footballers in professional terms, but their whole young adult life and child life was around football, and then suddenly you realise you can't, whether it's because of fitness or health, or I've got a note here, it's actually becoming a dad. And when you become a dad or a family man, you're no longer haven't got that ability to go out for a whole Saturday to go and play football, and you'll kind of feel almost isolated. The fact that you've gone from 5 years old playing football with all your mates, seeing them twice a week, and then maybe as you get older having a beer with them afterwards, you've gone from that massive tribe that you're a part of, that maybe you don't talk about your troubles, but you belong. Is that maybe some sort of part of it? Is that what your sort of thought as well?
Yeah, massively, 100%. Yeah, that was a big purpose. The person I was speaking about, who originally kind of kickstarted me to go, right, let's just do this. That's exactly the conversation we had. Basically, football had been everything. He'd had all of his friends were around football. Everything was kind of involved. And then he stopped. Basically, children come along. We kind of lose a bit of a sense of ourself, and you don't have that purpose. And a lot of these guys have played half decent standard football, and some hadn't. Some just played with their mates, but it's still the same thing as having that sense of purpose. As you said, a sense of pulling together, trying to achieve something together, and being around other men, and there's not many opportunities you have to do that otherwise if you're not doing sport. So that was a huge part of what I wanted to try and create, a kind of, there's an element of competition to it, there's challenge, there's all sorts of things, but you're all working together and trying to unify as one group, but at the same time there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of pushing each other, a lot of the sort of stuff that we loved. We talk about men. I read a book recently, actually, Captain Moran. It's called "What About Men." It's a great book, really, really, really good book. Coming from a feminist, looking at men's plight in the world, basically. And in that, she talks a lot about men's talk and how it gets a bit of a bad rap. It's kind of like, don't talk about anything serious. And we don't. That's true. Generally, in those settings, you don't. I've got guys that have come on the program who I've known for years, some of them, and when the first time they join in, they tell us something. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. Didn't know that was happening to you. Didn't know that was going on. And I used to see him every Saturday or something at football or whatever it might be. And had no idea, because we just don't ask those questions. So this is kind of a place where we have that element of teamwork, working together, being part of a tribe. But at the same time, we have a space that actually allows us to just talk a little bit more freely and actually ask those questions and understand a bit more about the individual and what's actually going on in their life, and give them space to open up about it and see what others are going through, because generally there's someone else going through it.
I think that's because I did it for a little bit, because I travel so much. It was probably a negative effect on the group, because I would be in there one week and then I'd be
Yeah.
dining in from the Algarve the next week, and it's not really the sort of someone suffering in the UK. You know, it's some bloke talking about stuff when he's on the beach. It's hard to feel sympathetic for someone who's somewhere sunny when it's raining where you are. But I got loads of it. And then obviously you and I spoke one-to-one about things, and a lot of what you said from my one-to-one coaching, behavioural change stuff is working. So thank you for that. That's why you're the first guest, mate. But I'm quite interested to know, because a lot of your, I don't want to say therapies, but a lot of the, you've got a different topic or different sections of the week, haven't you? So I'll talk to you about that. But it's because is it a conscious effort that you've got the nature stuff, you've got the cold water therapy, and you've got the gym stuff? Is it a conscious effort to incorporate all three of those, or is it just happened that way?
No, absolutely. No, it's for me, it's all the things, I guess, kind of from my own trial and error as much as anything. So these are the things that I believe really help on mental fitness. And not all of them will help everyone in the same way. Some people still don't love going in the sea on a Saturday. You know, some people are just like, oh, please, it actually causes them more stress. So it's like, it's not for everyone. And I get that. But the people, when you do, it's kind of giving everyone those opportunities really to just try different things. I think there's a big difference between being a bit generalist here, between men and women, in terms of, I think women are far more likely to work on their personal development and read about different things and want to know, try different things about their own health and wellness. Men kind of just get on with things generally, if we're generalising, and we don't have those opportunities to actually try these things that are actually, why wouldn't they work for women? Why wouldn't they work for us? You know, we have these things that, why are we not trying them? You know, why are we not thinking about these sorts of things?
I guess also by nature of us, as we mentioned in your exams, and my exams were no different, except the results. But the preparation for my exams were exactly the same. We don't really do stuff until this shit hits the fan. We don't even worry about it, and until we don't generally look after. We'll worry about mental health until we have a little bit of an incident or an isolation or something happens, and we go, oh, maybe this mental health stuff does apply to me. I'm not bulletproof, and I think maybe that might be part of it, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I think and that was a big part of this as well. I call it a lot of prehab program, a prehabilitative program, because I want people to come in and be doing the work in advance. You know, we spoke about, you know, our friend who've lost a suit, and other people have gone since. You know, other friends and other people we know, other people from school, friends from school, and for me, it's trying to create a space where people are already talking about these things, already learning about their emotions, already taking the opportunity to learn about their thoughts and their thinking, and before they get to a state where actually this is a real problem and they can't reverse it, basically. So for me, it's trying to do all these things, create a habit and a culture where we're doing things that help us feel better mentally all the time. I mean, we're always going to get times when we're sad, we're always going to get times when we're stressed, but if we can find methods to make us feel better and benefit day to day without getting to the very lowest ebb, then it's working for me.
I think that's what life's about, peaks and troughs, isn't it? Right, and you're never super happy all the time, and you're never super sad all the time. Life's kind of in the middle, which is you just want to stay a little bit above or below that sort of happiness line and try and do all you can. But prehab is a phrase that I love, mate. So talk about the individual sort of areas that you could incorporate within the Viking program.
So there's parts of it that's we have an online component to it, because where we enable people to have a daily task list, basically. So there are things every day that everyone will be allotted. So a lot of the time we know we should be doing this, or we should be doing that, we should be doing. But again, as you said, not just men, it's a lot of people, but particularly men. I think we're particularly bad at it. We tend to be like, I should be doing that, should be doing that. But you put it all to the back burner. There's always something more important than our own health or well-being. So there's an online component where people will have daily tasks. There'll be things to do, things all around mental fitness. So they'll have gratitude lists, and this is always still a big part of it for me. Every day, all the guys are on a group. We put on 3 things that you're grateful for. So not only do you put your own gratitude list on, you see a host of other people's gratitudes. We have step counts, make sure people are getting enough walk, very basic sort of stuff, cold showers, various things about their nutrition, small workouts, small bits of mobility, all different things that they can work on. So that's kind of a key component of it, which kind of keeps the whole thing having some direction, and creates a bit of a friendly competition around it, if that makes sense, to see how much there's a bit of a desire to do those tasks. But then we have the gym sessions. On a Saturday, we go to the gym. We have sauna afterwards. We go in the sea. So sauna's a newish thing. We've had that in the last few months. Luckily, very fortunately, an old friend of mine set up a sauna company right near us, which couldn't be better. Comes in early, and so we have a sauna. Yeah, really handy. In the sea, and then the culture's kind of evolved where most of the guys then go to the cafe and have a coffee, and they kind of sit around and chat about the day. And they all say it's like the best the best start to a weekend ever. And we're done early. You know, I set this program up. I've got 3 young kids. I can't spend all day with all these guys, much as I'd love to, you know, at times. It's great fun. But we want to be in and home before even much has happened. So they're quite early starts. Get back, nothing's happened at home. You then got a whole day with the family to do whatever you want to do, or take it that way. Sundays we go out for a hike. So there's always all over the South Downs, all to get out in nature. And there's double components. Partly it's for the fitness and exercise, partly to be in nature, but also that element that walking and just talking to people it's a great environment to do it. Sometimes it's hard to sit at a table with someone and
you've got to keep
discuss
moving, right?
things that you want to talk about. But when you're walking, yeah, absolutely. But when you're walking, it feels much more natural to say, this happened this week, or just, you know, talking about whatever might be going on in life. It's a good opportunity. Then we have a Monday evenings, which is a bit more of an intensive hill session somewhere, basically going up a hill somewhere up and down for about 40 minutes with bags, with weights, and for those that want it, you know, as an extra fitness element. That's really just do it, especially on a Monday, because it's the day that everyone thinks, start of the week, and it's the hardest one, even for me. Sometimes on a Monday, I'm like, Monday night when it's midwinter, but it's the one you have to get to. You get to that, and you're like, you're very proud of yourself straight away. I've done that, I've been there, and the rest of the week kind of carries on, and that's got kind of positive momentum. And then the final component is what we call a campfire chat. So they're not actually round campfire. We occasionally have the opportunity to do that when we've been in Lapland, and we're looking to do that more into the summer. But they're actually done via Zoom, and it's campfire to keep the whole Viking theme. But basically, in your tribes, if it's a component where you're in your team, you get together and we have a chat, just basically see what's been positive for the week, what's gone well, anyone that's got anything they want to talk about. And if no one's got any particular subject they want to talk about, then we will have usually done a coaching model, or some sort of question during the week that we'll then discuss. We'll raise and say, how did you find this question? What did it mean to you? What were your findings from it? And everyone we basically just chew the fat from there about what that means, and see where it takes people from there, basically. And it's just an open conversation for anyone to try and discover a little bit more about themselves, or how their thoughts work, and everything else. So,
which area do you think the boys get the most from, whether they like it or not? So which do you think they kind of improves them and helps them the most?
I think it's a culmination. I think different people get different parts from it. I mean, the daily tasks are important. I think the truth is, every tour that we run, there'll be 1 or 2 people that don't quite get what they want from it. You know, out of 30 odd people, there might be 1 or 2. But the only reason that happens is when people don't commit to the daily tasks, basically. Every time someone commits to it, they get everything they want from it and more, generally. Because you feel great. You know, you're doing those things, you're ticking off tasks, you're doing it, you're looking after yourself, you feel fantastic. I think the surprising one that people don't expect to get much from is the campfire chats. I think everyone that joins thinks, I don't know about this, you know, it's not really my cup of tea. I just want to, because part of the reason we have the fitness element as well is because it's easier for men to kind of go into a program where it's about fitness and strength, and everything else is, you know, it feels more natural.
Which you're not going straight in there to talk about your feelings. Do you know what I mean? You're kind of tricking them into talking about fitness, and then I guess because they're talking about because they're getting exercise, and you bond with people that you go through stuff with. So maybe like the hills that you said on a Monday evening, you kind of bond because you've all been through that experience. Do you know what I mean? And is it because the barriers have gone down and it feels like a safe zone for them to do it? Do you know, there's no judgment. Everyone feels safer because they've gone through and achieved stuff together, that they feel they can actually open up more.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's what it's about. And everyone just feels more confident in each other. That's what we have, challenges at the end. So when we go through these grueling challenges, we do these challenges, and there's big reasons for that. It's partly so that everyone suffers the right word, but pushes themselves beyond their limits together, so that they've all been through this. It's like, you know, you speak to guys who have been in the military or something, and the bond they have with the other guys that they've been through is incredible. You know, it's kind of, they are brothers. There's no ifs or buts about it. This is like that, but with the opportunity to talk. I've been part of you've been part of so many different sports teams and things, and I love it. But the bit I used to love being part of a sports team actually was like the end of the season, when everyone would have a few drinks, and on those nights you could tell them, say, I love, you know, and you'd talk about stuff that was actually a bit more than just the normal sort of banter in the changing room. But you can't talk about that normally. Whereas actually in this, we give that opportunity. It's like, actually we can talk about that stuff. You know, you can actually talk about things that are more in depth, and as a result, we're much closer as a result. So everyone's very close. You really know the deeper person beyond what's on the surface. You kind of know exactly what what their fears are, what their goals are, what they love in life, what are the things they're really passionate about. You kind of really get to know the ins and outs of that person. And I've not met anyone yet who, when you see them authentically,
Yeah.
I haven't thought that they're awesome.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
and,
truth.
and this is what we said earlier, that moving you don't play sports, whether it's football or whatever. When you're away from that team dynamic, you kind of lose a bit, and maybe, like you said, it's the end of the season do, which means the more. I can remember more change room moments, funny, emotional change room moments, than I can remember actually on pitch moments because we weren't that successful.
Yeah.
But it's all into that kind of belonging to a tribe and feeling valued, but also, and I guess you kind of sometimes get value from helping other people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, my best memories, I
Yeah.
played football all various levels, but my best memories in football were actually when I was part of a team that you had a really good team spirit, all good friends, good mates, knew people, quite a lot of people in there you really, really genuinely cared about. And then when you went
Yeah.
above and beyond. So when you beat someone that you really shouldn't beat, a team that should beat you 9 out of 10 times, when you achieve that and you beat it, there's something. I don't think there's very little in life that beats that feeling of we've done that together, we pulled together, we lifted each other up, and because we lifted each other up, we did this something amazing. Which at whatever level it is, it's amazing when you're in that moment. So
Nice, man. So that obviously the podcast, we mentioned it briefly earlier. So the podcast is about just starts. So trying to help people to convince that don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait to be an expert in it. Sometimes all the preparation can go out the window. You just got to start and go for it. When was that kind of moment for you? We mentioned obviously losing our friend to suicide, and obviously your mum, you lost your mum as well. Is there somewhere that was the definitive, other than those that contributed to it, was there a definitive moment where you put the plans together for the Viking, or maybe it wasn't even called the Viking at that point? Was there a point where you just went, there's something in me, I've just got to go for this, regardless of all the risks? Was there a moment where you just went, I'm going for it, I've just got to start this and see where it goes?
Yeah, absolutely. It came a lot from doing a lot of work on myself as well. A lot of the work the beauty of training to be a coach and doing all the stuff that I was doing, training to do my behaviour change coach, life coaching, was that I also got coached, and I also you have to do all the work yourself. You have to kind of understand it all. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I know I was limiting myself for so long. I had so many ideas, things that I thought, I could do this, could do that.
Yeah.
And never did any of them, or I did a tiny bit but never saw it through at all. And it kind of, so in this case, I think it got to the point where I would, rather than wait until it was perfect, thinking, okay, let's get this right, let's make sure everything's going to be right. I don't want to be humiliated and do this thing that's rubbish. And it's like, just go and do it, Dan. Just go and a big thing was on the back of the conversation with the guy that I was with. It's like, this needs to happen now. Me and you, obviously, we put together the cold shower challenge, and there's loads of just start moments over the years, little bits of where you thought, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to have a bash at that. The cold shower challenge we kind of came together was exactly that as a thing. We've got to do something here to raise awareness for around male suicide and everything else. And we started that challenge, and from that, which we didn't know if it'd be do anything at all, or if it'd just be me and you.
Me and my missus in the bathing suit. And, I think I had a diving mask once. I think the last one I did, I sprayed the cold water on my trunks, which is a monstrous mistake, and I'm still waiting for the regrowth to deal with that cold shower, if you ask my missus.
But yeah, from that, it kind of, even on that thing, so that was something that came from just a sense of purpose of something. We've got to do something here. It's just got to do something. I don't even know what it is, really, but we'll do something. And from that, I mean, a lot of people, I think the first one we did, I did a video where I spoke about male suicide and things like that. And I didn't actually, the plan wasn't for other people to speak and talk about what was going on. But actually what happened was when we nominated other people, they started talking. Other men some of my friends who I was like, well, I've never heard him talk like that at all, were suddenly being more open and open up at something on a camera in front of however many people it was going to go to. We thought, and that made me think, wow, there's something in this. That evolved to what it was, and that was great. But I think the same with Way of The Vikings. It's just just start something, and it just starts to evolve. If you're passionate about it and you really, really care about what it's trying to produce and what you're trying to do with it, not thinking about the business element of it or anything like this. That's why I love what I do. There's no real business thought this way. It was just a sense of purpose. It was purpose driven, and I thought this needs to be done. Let's just do something and see what happens, and then it's just.
So I won't say who it is, but I'll give his initials, SD. One of my favourite moments from that is a guy who's a very good friend of ours, and I've known him for as long as maybe even longer than I've known you. And he's normally not the most chatty of people. I love him, but he's not the most chatty of people, right? But
Yeah,
I think it was the second video or third video he did where he totally opened up before he got into that cold shower, and sort of said that it helped him grow. You know, he's not really the best for talking about things, and it's helped him grow as kind of a bloke, and sort of started talking about stuff. And hearing this guy who's like 6'6" and a centre half by trade, hearing him talk like this was one of my favourite moments of that challenge.
absolutely. Absolutely. We hear that a lot with I think it's said, talk back to the campfire, it's the thing that everyone is most daunted by. I think, I don't know if I need that, I'm kind of, but for a lot of people, it's what they get the most from on the Vikings. Back to your earlier question, for a lot of the guys will say that actually is the thing they get the most from it, because it's just that opportunity to share. And we think it's, and I think it's so important. That's, for me, it's the biggest, that's the culture change I wanted to create, an element where men want to talk about things that are actually important. We actually want to talk about our emotions and feelings and what's going on in life, but from a position of strength, not because we're, it doesn't make us weak to do that. We do that because it makes us a whole lot stronger. If I hadn't done the work I'd done with my coaches and talking a bit more about, and by the way, I was an absolute close.
Mate, me too, man. I the worst.
I still. I'm still I'm much more open now, and I've learned. But at the time when he was coaching me, he must have been like,
good luck, mate.
This guy's not giving me a lot. But even what we got from that was more than I'd ever spoke to anyone before about anything. That made me do the work all the time on myself and start to journal and understand so much more about my own thoughts and psychology, and it's given me the greatest growth I've ever had. I'm the happiest I've ever been, as genuinely the most content and happy I've ever been in my life because of that work, because I've spoke to guys, because I'm around with these other guys and we're talking about things all the time. I wonder if that hadn't have happened, if none of these events had occurred, would I still be now sat in doing something, not taking those leaps to have a go at trying to do something? Would I be still a fraction of what I could be doing and a fraction of the level of contentedness that I am now? I don't know.
Exactly. And I guess
sometimes
the saddest moments kind of actually you can kind of get some kind of good out of it, and it had to have something awful like the two losses that you had, and it had to happen to kind of move you on to kind of where you are. And I've got something story like that for another time. But is there a part of when you, the first question, I'm the one asking the questions. It's very strange because there's normally one you're asking me. So why is that, Tim? Normally I get to flip it around and do this, mate. So is there a part of this starting the Vikings over from the starting point to now where is it all you kind of imagined it would be? Is it all gone perfectly to plan and you just gone, do you know what? This is absolutely right. And what I enviaged was right.
No, not
good.
really.
I'm so happy you said that. Otherwise it'd be a shit question. Mate, I'm a genius businessman. Yeah.
Next question. Yeah, no, no, absolutely. It evolves. Even now, it's evolving all the time. Every single, and this is another thing about a lot of the work. I know you've done a lot of this work as well, and with me and with other people, it's that being willing to just have a go and know that things might not work, and not knowing that's not the end of the world. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this time because in the future that's going to make this even better. So I'm going to try it. It might not work, but I'll do it anyway and see what happens. And I'll do that all the time. I'm going to do it with the program, and I'll try different things. And sometimes I'll have something. This is going to be brilliant. This is going to solve this, and I'll put it in there, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And within 2 weeks, there's been a loophole that the guys will find a loophole, and it's not gone the trajectory I was hoping at all. So no, it's constantly evolving all the time, and I'm constantly looking at how it can evolve and how we can make it better, how we can make it more impactful, how we can make it better. Because for me, all I want is to see people fulfil their potential in whatever way they want to do that in their own, but in feeling as content as they can with their life. And so anything I can do to try and make that happen and make it better, or to support them in doing that, then that's what I'll do. And it's a constant process of evolution.
Yeah. So has there been a moment where you've had a real pivot where you've gone, this isn't working, I don't know about this, and you've just had to really do a significant pivot?
There's definitely with certain tasks and things that I've put in, and there was also like a time issue. Like for me, I was doing a lot of it via WhatsApp for a long time. I've been trying to find app and things, and for me, I was spending hours, and it was starting to get to the point where it was becoming a bit of a chore, to do that. I loved being around the guys, loved doing it, but suddenly it was like, God, this is hours of work I shouldn't need to be doing. And so there's different directions. We found an app that makes it so much simpler, and all the guys but I had to compromise on a couple of things for that, just because of how it works. But it's meant that the guys have all found it much more straightforward, much simpler. It's kind of changed it, and it's made it much evolve in a totally different direction. And from that has given lots of other potential opportunities to go from there as well for the future. So generally, it's smaller things, generally
Right.
things that you put in and it doesn't work. Try that, doesn't work. Try that, did work. Try that,
Nice.
that's brilliant.
There's
Just
that
keep
I
going
wanted
with
to
that.
tell you about.
Yeah.
I've downloaded it, but it might help your nutrition side of things and putting data. So basically, it uses AI. You take basically, I can't remember if you take a photo of your dinner and it analyzes what you're eating, and then gives
Yeah.
you the calories and everything else, and all the macros and stuff from it. Or no, that's all not true at all.
Yeah.
Basically, you take a photo of it or scan the barcode of what you're eating, and then it will convert the macros. So let's say you're having a
Yeah.
steak, rice, and peas. You take a picture of the barcode of everything, all the products, and it will go right. That's a packet of peas. Right. So if you have 100 grams of it, how much you're eating of it? 100 grams. You do that. So I'll send it over to you if that might help. Or might even confuse the Vikings.
Yeah, I did find one like that actually. I was really excited at one point. There was something advertised on social media, and it was just take a photo of your meal, and AI used it to give you exact. And I thought, oh my god, this is a game changer for everything. You know, it's kind of like you haven't even got to look at. You just take a photo and it gives you all your. And but when I started doing it, it wasn't. As Simon said, I was thinking, that's not right. So. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not quite there. It's getting there. It's getting AI will do that, I'm sure, at some point, which will make life incredibly easy for people's nutrition at some point.
So it's great that you've got your business sorting out and helping 30 people now. And we'll talk about the growth plans of it. But I'm sure the Vikings, whoever listened to this, how do you look after your mental fitness, mate?
Doing most of the things that we talk about. So for me, there's certain non-negotiables. So I have certain things when I wake up in the morning. I have structure around. It sounds simple, but things around nutrition. So I always have the same thing for breakfast every day. I just know what it's going to be. I don't really think about it. And some people might think, well, what's that got to do with your mental fitness? But the amount of time people wake up, spend thinking about what they might have, it's little micro stresses all the time that people think about. You know, it's like having a uniform when you go to work. If you go and you don't have a uniform, it's a little micro stress of something you've got to think about what to wear. So for me, I know I wear pretty much the same things all the time, even though I don't need to wear a uniform. I generally do. I have breakfast that I have standard, and then I always spend them on a journal, or I'll meditate, or I'll do some breath work just after I've had breakfast. I get up early. I normally start at like 6 o'clock, but I'm always up at 4:30, and we'll do that kind of side of stuff. And then I'll walk to the gym if I'm training people there. I'll always walk every morning so that and I'll listen to an audio book. So I know that I'm always at my best when I'm learning something, and I always want to be learning something new. So I'll always walk a few miles to work, do that to the gym. Sorry, if I'm going there, and I'll listen to an audiobook, walk back to that. So I'm always getting about 5 miles. Cold showers regularly. I said journaling's important. Gratitude I do every day. It's part of my journaling. And I ask myself questions all the time. I constantly within my journal, I ask myself a lot of the questions that I ask the guys. I kind of tend to do a lot of the same things that they're doing as well, because it's good to remind myself. And we'll put questions in, and I'll write about all of it and go through everything I can think of that might be affecting me from the past, or things that I just haven't got my head around. I need to work out. And one of the big things I do in journaling is look at my emotions, basically. So there's one of my journals I work through has just a list of emotions, and I'll kind of wake up and I'll go through all the emotions that I feel that day, and it's quite different every day to day, to be honest. Sometimes we'll wake up and be like, oh, it's really positive, everything's great. Other days it's like a bit stressed. I don't know why I'm a bit stressed. I feel a bit anxious there. I don't know. And just doing that thing and then having a moment to go, oh, I'm probably a bit stressed because that's going on. Actually, I'm a little bit anxious. I've got that going on later on. So maybe taking that time to write about it and just understand why I'm thinking these things, or why my body's feeling a bit anxious, suddenly sort of alleviates it. Goes, okay.
Yeah, I don't do the writing down journal bit, but I'm good at self-questioning, but I don't write it down. I think maybe I need to start doing that, because we're going for quite a stressful moment for the business right now. And all week I've been a really anxious, obnoxious bastard. And now we're going, oh, funnily enough, this is quite a stressful moment, and it connects it. So, yeah. So where do you think...
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to connect, though, isn't it, sometimes?
It is.
It's hard to connect that, isn't it, sometimes? You don't realise. You just think I'm in a bad mood. I don't know why I'm in a bad mood, but I'm in a... And then like, oh, well...
Well, I think also sometimes blokes, we're rubbish about asking. We come home from work, and generally, this isn't supposed to be sexy, but generally we come home from work, the kids are in there, and the missus has had enough of the kids. And generally speaking, if we go, just need half an hour by myself just to decompress a little bit, there'll be the heaviest object coming your way. And I think sometimes we kind of fall into that, and we kind of... And not like I'm unfortunate that my other half, we had this conversation before our first child was born. We said, look, no one's having a party in this situation. We need to have the ability, if one of us is feeling rubbish and needs 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, we need to have the ability to say, whatever it is, there's no questions, go for it. Or if we spot it in the other person, because they're mood is not positive for the team, for the family, if it's not positive, we actually go, look, go, I say go and have a bath, and she said, go, look, just go and have 20 minutes by yourself, and it's quite a good way. And I think that's those micro stresses that you said kind of build up. And like I said, I'm the most stressed I've ever been, but I couldn't be happier because I've got three beautiful kids, one woman that loves me, a supportive family and friends around me. I couldn't be more feel happier and loved, despite going through the extreme stress that we're going through. And I think it's those micro stresses. I love that phrase, micro stresses, because there's nothing. Well, there are some massive things, but sometimes one micro stress isolated isn't a problem. But suddenly, when you have like three or four, maybe five, it builds up to that anxiety and that stress levels, which before you know it, there's not one. And I think that's where we think with mental fitness or mental health. We go, there's one magic. Oh, I've only got a pen. There's one magic wand where you can go. Do you know what? It's this one thing, and as soon as you stop driving to work or walking to work, there's one thing that you can do to fix it. There's no one magic solution. And I think that's where us blokes are kind of now just realising it's not. We've got to do the prehab stuff that we said women are much better at. We only do stuff when it's really we're feeling dreadful and we're coming to the time where we might do something terminal. And I think we need to kind of be able to. We're getting much better at going. Do you know what, I'm a little bit anxious for that, but don't worry about it. And then another bit of stress happens, and we until we get to the level where we got loads of micro stresses that makes us blow up. We need to get to the sort of level where we're talking about level 1 or 2 rather than waiting to the extreme level 10 to talk about. I don't know if there's a question in there, but.
Absolutely. I think you're bang on. Yeah, absolutely. It's that little cathartic effect all the time, rather than letting the kettle absolutely boil. Just let a little bit out at a time, and it's kind of, and that's where the talking comes in. And we're generally bad at that sort of thing. I'm exactly like you. My wife tells me all the time, Dan.
Get out of the house.
Go for a walk.
So in the business now, where do you see the business is going to be growing to? What's the sort of plan?
Well, it's kind of various different things. I mean, I'm sort of looking at trying to create a sort of one-to-many model with it at the moment, so that it can spread. So hence why some of the challenges that we're doing around the app and things like that, and trying to create a connection for people that are anywhere. So as part of the trial that we do at the moment, we have like a distanced option on the Vikings at the moment. So some of the guys that are in it and can't be local. Some of the guys travel a lot, work or whatever, and so for that it was fine, but it was hard to stay connected. Suddenly we're trying this option where they can still get all of the points they need to get, do all the stuff they need to do, but wherever they are. So that's something we're kind of looking at, a bit of a one-to-many model that we could maybe take.
Like a trainer type of thing,
well,
so you get people in the Vikings become trainers almost?
More of like different programs, so different things that people. So we set out like a challenge that people can join, a tour that people can join from anywhere in the world, basically, and be part of it. A lot of the stuff is people send videos in to align with each other, so a lot of the connection actually comes. Well, I ran a distance program last year, which was male and female, just a bit of a trial program, 28 days. As I said, always just trialing things and see what happens, and it worked phenomenally. Everyone kind of really connected well, and even though no one saw anyone in person at that point, it worked incredibly well in terms of a sense of connection, because everyone got to know about each other, even if they didn't know who they were at all, never met them at all. They got to know bits about them that meant they could really connect as a team and start working together and lifting each other up. So that's part of the plan. It's kind of, that's one in motion, and we're kind of moving towards that. The mid part for me is working on the cusp of what Way of the Viking is, and just making it better all the time, trying to evolve it, trying to make it a better experience, trying to make it as positive as possible. And also we have a house in I bought a house in Lapland, part of the just do it type thing.
I forgot about that. That's a great just do it story.
Yeah, so bought a house just south of the Arctic Circle with a friend of mine.
Bought a new house, love. Brilliant. What? Down the Algarve? Nah. A couple of hours outside the Arctic Circle. I'll put my bikini back.
So that's, but as a part of that, it's a great area, and we've started running retreats out there and things with the Viking guys, looking to do more of that. So I kind of would like a level where there's a program that ends with that as part of it, where we go out to Lapland and we finish with whichever time of year, whether it's autumn, spring, or in mid-winter, and we go and explore that area as part of it. Because every time I go out there, I mean, I need that place now. I love it so much. Me and Jim, I bought a house with my friend. We go out there, and when I come away, my head is just alive with ideas. It's like we don't have Wi-Fi there purposely. We took Wi-Fi out. But it's very modern on the inside. Everything's kind of nice cottage, but we've got all this land around it, and we've got forest around it, and we just, you just literally, it's just about being out there with nature. It's so quiet when it's snowing. It's so quiet. Everything's just there. It's just, you just feel fully relaxed completely. And when you relax like that, your mind and your thoughts, and it just goes, everything feels possible, and your mind's kind of,
Yeah,
like,
mate.
you've read Shoe Dog, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
You
Well,
might have
in the
told
same
me.
way as you, when I've read it, I mean, I've listened to the audio book.
I've actually read that one. On paper book, so. But that one, you know, they have a thing there where he goes, he has buttheads meetings. I don't know if you remember, and I love that idea. He gets the guy. This is the owner of Nike, by the way. If anyone hasn't read, the founder of Nike, Phil Knight, who created Nike, and he has these. Comes across such a nice guy, don't he? In that, but I really want to meet. He has these meetings where they go out to a place and they have these butthead meetings. So with all of these guys around him, they just have fun. It's in a cabin in the woods somewhere, I think, basically, and they basically in that moment they have it once a year. Where they just shout at each other, tell them whatever they want to do, and they come out of all of these ideas and plans for the year for Nike. I get it. Like, from that, after reading that, I remember thinking that's exactly how it feels when I go to Lapland. It's just everything. You get an opportunity to just talk about anything and everything, and so the ideas just like, wow, feel flowing. So I'd love to have something. Back to your question, to bring it back, I'm not just going off completely on a tangent. I'd like to have an element where there's a finish point where we can use the program that actually ends with like a top end where people can come and use that as a bit of a retreat, whether it be an entrepreneur's retreat or whatever it might be, just a get away from it all.
Yeah, well, mate, it's fantastic, and I think generally you're saving lives. Then it seems we went to an event a few weeks ago for Sam Thomas's 100th episode, and there was another guy there who's doing something different but similar in the same space as you. And it's great to see so many people popping up for the same purpose, and it's not just men's suicide, but women's, suicide for everybody. It's great to see it's getting so much more attention, and I think more for it. We've got to prepare ourselves for hard times. Times are going to be hard. It's impossible to go through life, and I think the biggest lesson I'm going through with my oldest, who's 12, is not shielding him from the bad things. Obviously, there's our extreme things, but you learn more from your mistakes, and it builds resilience in it. And I had a great phrase, was you can coach all you want, but you can't play the game. And it's I don't know if I said it before, but I love that phrase, and that you can prepare them as much as you want, but you've just got to let them experience life. Obviously, there's extremes. I rarely let them juggle with chainsaws anymore, but there's a certain amount of stress that you have to go through, and actually not allowing them to go through a little bit of stress and a little bit of maybe suffering is maybe the wrong word, but a little bit of pain. There you go. Verse is a much better word for it. You've got to allow it. And I think that's what my parents did a great job of me, is that, and maybe our generation were allowed to go out to wherever we want. We had no mobile phones, so we'd go out and we'd come back when it was dark, and our parents had no idea what we got up to.
No, there's a great Japanese, but I heard something the other day. It says our brains are anti-fragile, right? So we're built for adversity. We're meant to. That's how humans have evolved. That's why we're here. That's why we're still here. And there's a great Japanese proverb where it says, I don't know if this is true. Maybe I should test it. But you put eels in a container, and 60% will survive. But if you put eels in a container and add a predator, 90% survive. So it's that sense of adversity, actually purpose, or something that they're trying to deal with. We need adversity, so that's how we grow. That is how we grow. If we have no adversity, we're never going to grow. And I think there's definitely an element, same as you. So my best parenting for my mum was probably what would seem like the worst parenting nowadays, where she'd be like, I'm going to school today, Mum, I'm going to do this. But she'd be like, oh, okay,
Well, she didn't, because you broke your arm doing PE once.
Yeah, it's true. So, yeah, sometimes we have to, you can't protect kids all the time. We want to try and protect them from the worst dangers, but I absolutely agree with you.
And in terms of going back to your business, or maybe the industry that you're in, what's your either kind of predictions of, like, I see an app coming in or a bit of tech coming in like this, or something that's that's going to make a seismic change in the world of mental fitness? Is there an opportunity in there, or do you see it coming further down the line? Any sort of ideas or predictions or wants that you'd like to see happen in the sort of the general mental fitness area?
I think there's a need for connection still. I still think that's huge. And I think if you can put that hybrid model together, and it's something that can spread around, I think that'd be huge. If you had a Way of the Viking that was everywhere, that people had an opportunity to connect physically, as well as an app that was kind of uniting everyone in terms of what we're doing, in terms of actually the questions that were being asked and opportunities to talk. I think there's huge scope in that. I'd love to see that happen.
Before I finish, because I know you've probably got to go and do a Viking tour in a minute, is there one phrase or saying or something that you kind of always kind of fall back on, and you always go, do do you know, when you're having a rough day, you always say this to yourself over and over and over again? Is there one that you can think of?
Yeah, there's a couple actually that spring to mind. I'd say they're quite pretty a bit cheesy and quite common ones now, but like life's a journey, not a destination is one that always. I remember I was in Thailand travelling and went into this little artist shop and I bought this book that this artist had, and it was the first time I'd ever seen anything about sort of personal development. Never even thought about this sort of stuff before, and I was like, he just had little pictures and a phrase, and that was one that was in there. And I always remember thinking, oh, wow, and it really hit me then, going,
Yeah.
yeah, it is. You know, it's not about trying to get somewhere; it's actually enjoying the day to day. And I try to live by that all the time. If I'm not enjoying something, for me, that's a big thing that makes me take a step back and reflect and go, okay, I'm not enjoying that. How do I make this so that I enjoy it? You know, I need to enjoy this journey. And Jim, who I put the house with, and that we talk about it all the time. It's, if we're not enjoying it, then we go, well, we've got to find a way to make sure we are enjoying this, because the journey's far more important than any destination. So that's there. And then the other one that I always fall back on is, I've suddenly had a mind blank.
No, so I'll come back to you. So the two that I always fall back on are two, and they're probably much a similar thing. One is, if you feel like quitting, remember why you started. That's one. And the other one that I really like, and it's going to sound really cheesy, but I think it was on Instagram, there's a picture of a lion and a lion cub. And it said for it, if you feel like quitting, remember who's watching. And that really hits home on me with two boys and a daughter who's mad. Yeah. It really impacts on me and obviously, you know, my relationship with my oldest. I always remember him observing me. And then we used to have a bath time. Every night was bath time where it was just free talk. Say whatever you like. He's 12 now, so we don't do it. But he would rarely question what I had said, but he would always question what I did. He would always go, so we were talking to Nana about this, or you said this at school, or you did. I saw you did. It's always, and it really hit me really hard. Maybe it was just boys. Always watching what you're doing and how you're doing it, rather than what you're saying.
Absolutely, actions over words always, eh? It's that whole
brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the third one that I love, and I saw it not long ago, was it was actually by a pissed bloke in New Orleans, and this is the roaming guy on social media was going, "What's the best phrase you've ever heard, or that your parents ever said?" He said, "The best one I've heard was from my dad," and he said, "How big would you dream if you knew you couldn't fail?" And it kind of shows how big your imagination and your creativity is.
Yeah, exactly.
You go, do you know, like me with Striver, I could go, do you know, I want 1 billion users. Well, why wait at 1 billion? You've got no boundaries here. Oh, I want everyone in the world to do it. Well, why just everyone in the world? Why not go to Mars? Do you know what I mean? It's such a great question that I love, that makes me think, because I think sometimes we get so cautious about, I want every football fan. Well, maybe it's bigger than just football, or maybe it's just, like with you, maybe it's just bigger than just men's mental fitness. It's a really cool phrase that I really fall back on. I need to come up with some more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll remember my phrase. I'll give you my phrase. I've remembered it. So I'm actually coming with me. It's never doubt the outcome. Never doubt the outcome. So, and for me, it's all about faith and a belief that, again, it's a bit like the journey and the destination. It's kind of a case that everything's there to teach us. So whatever's happening, bad, brilliant, whatever's happening, never just doubt the outcome. It's there for a reason. So, you know, I'm a big believer. I kind of have developed faith, not religion, and that sounds a bit, but faith really is depicted as basically a belief that things will work out in the end. That's what faith is for me, and it's kind of one way or another. Even if it's not for me, if something happened to me, maybe it'll teach someone else, and that's just what's meant to happen.
It's a great way of looking at it. Well, I know you've got a hard stop now, mate, so I appreciate you giving me your time. Danny Gainsford, founder of the Way of the Viking.
Thanks for inviting me on, man. I'm honoured to be your first guest.
Getting off the 100th really, as well. So yeah, Danny, founder of the Way of the Viking, doing some amazing things. I'll put his socials in the comments so you can have a look at it in the description. But yeah, stay tuned. There'll be another one next week. Danny, really appreciate you joining us, and great work. Keep it up, mate.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Good to speak to you.
No worries, mate. I'm off to go and buy a bucket of eels.
This episode of Just Starts is powered by Alloy Collectors. Football fans, it's time to level up your merch. Alloy Collectors transforms football jerseys into premium metal collectibles, because true fans deserve more than just another scarf or mug. Get 50% off with code JUSTSTART and grab a limited edition Just Start X Alloys tee. Plus, score a chance to attend a private exclusive event with some of the biggest names in UK football.